I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. I've been having fun cutting up some scrap and making a lot of sawdust. So I've got to clean this up, but then I really need to finish up the vise. It's got all the working parts, and it actually does clamp a piece of wood. Still has one problem. It's not anchored at the bottom. So I have to make up a catch for the bottom, and I want to trim off the outside edges and round them off so that these edges don't get all beat up. So that's going to take a little bit of doing. First thing I need to do is take it off the bench. I would dearly love to use a hand tool to do a round over on the outside edges. I suppose I could come after it with a plane and then use a knife blade to round the edges, but I really don't want to invest that kind of time into it. Whenever I set a router bit, I don't want to put it completely down into the collet. I want to leave it sticking out just about 1/8 of an inch or so that when I loosen the collet, I can tap the bit down into the spindle about 1/16 of an inch or so, and that'll cause the collet to loosen up. Yeah, this is Old Sneelock's old tool channel, but for me this is an old tool. Been in the family a long time. This little router, you have to oil the top bearing here every time you use it. You don't want to put a lot in there, but if you don't put a drop of oil in it, the bearing overheats and starts making a horrible racket. Now I'm going to set this round over a bit so it just skims the outside. And this is only 1/4 inch, so I won't do a big round over on it. The other thing I'm going to do is clamp down this board. That way I don't end up chasing it all around the bench. Move everything away from the router so that I don't have to worry about running into something. And the other thing I do that I have to do with this router that I don't have to do with my hand tools, so I put on hearing protection. I'm already wearing hearing aids. I don't want to have to go any further. Always want to unplug the router before I take the bit out. That little bit of pushing down just releases that collet. It works ever so well. It takes longer to set up and tear down when you're using electrical tools than it does to do the job. But they do have that advantage of being very speedy. And sometimes you just don't have all the equipment that you want. Since I already broke the ice with the router, I'm going to go ahead and sand this with a power sander. Just for the sake of speeding up the project. But by the time I get all the hardware on to protect me from the effects of the sanding, I probably could have sanded this thing by hand. Okay, the sanding's done. Here, let me take all this stuff off. The sanding's done, and I can put away the hardware. Hopefully that's the last power tool piece of equipment I have to use on this project. If you're going to use power tools and you're going to make that kind of dust, having one of these little 3M dust masks makes it so that you're not blowing your nose with sawdust for the next 2 days. I have, or have had, drill presses, milling machines, power tools of all kinds. Hand drills, grinders, buffers. There's nothing wrong with them. They let you do a lot of things really quickly in a production environment, and they don't require quite as much effort. So it's kind of a job equalizer. But down here in the workshop, they make a tremendous mess. I got sawdust everywhere. I'm going to be 15-20 minutes just cleaning up. And I do have to wear a dust mask because over the years I've become allergic to the wood dust that I've generated, especially oak. Oak just clogs me right up. Nothing wrong with power tools. I just prefer hand tools that make shavings rather than dust. Let's see, now we're nearly back where we started from. I'm going to use this piece of oak, it's old pallet board, and I'm going to put 2 runners, one on either side. That way it'll right along the sides of this 4x6 and keep the ends of this square so that it doesn't twist on me and it won't let it rock back and forth like it was doing. I need to save this piece I need to save this piece to replace a part on a Swan beam drill. That's really what I had this cut down for. Having a sawtill up here on the wall would probably save me a lot of steps. Now this isn't precision work. All I need really to do is divide this piece of wood in half. It's a total of 20 5/8, so 10 5/16. I really like this Distant D8. I have big hands, and a lot of saws, the grip is so small that I have to put my finger out here. Now some people say that's the proper way to do it. I'm much more comfortable just holding it like this. Makes an extension of my arm, and it just feels better. When I hold it like this, I always feel like I'm twisting it because I'm pushing on that finger. Just a thing that I do. My intent is to fasten these two oak pieces onto the sides of the chop. This one is going to ride underneath that crossbeam and ride on top of another piece of wood, probably a piece of pine, down here. That's going to give me a nice action so that it doesn't let the chop twist, and it's also going to keep it aligned vertically. Because if I loosen this up, the chop drops about 1/4 inch. There's just that much tolerance in the screw. If I tried to make it any tighter on the screw, it probably would not function well. This is an antique. It's not going to be absolutely tight. So this is going to be a way to get around that problem. I'm going to transfer this line over to this side because there isn't any crossbeam on the other side. Having a vise here is going to be a lot nicer. Now here's an easy place to make a mistake. Which way am I going to have these boards mounted, and which board goes where? I want to have it below the line. And I want to have this in towards the bench. And in this particular case, especially in clamps, size matters. I think I'm going to have to put a pilot hole in there because this one is not going to be happy. It's going into a knot, and even though it's pine, knots tend to be a little opposite. So we're going to give it a little help. Should have used the wax on the first one. This is what happens when you use a treated lumber fence post for a bench leg. They twist. When I draw the screw down tight, I think it's going to work quite well. The guides put on, the blocking put on, the screw mounted, I now have a working vise. The only hang-up is going to be having to put a wedge down here at the bottom. Just so that the jaws stay parallel. But I think my clamp works quite well. Need to take it off, put some boiled linseed oil on it so it doesn't get stained up. I can see fingerprints on it already. And then this project will be done. If you have any suggestions for a new video, questions about today's video, or any of the other videos on the channel, just drop a note in the comments below. You know I read them all. Thanks for watching.